The following program is sponsored by CBN.
Coming up, Rory Feek embarks on a new frontier.
The new frontier for me is sort of life going on without Joey.
How the singer willed himself back on stage.
Your fingers knew what to play even after 2 years.
And is coping with another run as a single dad.
I'd like to think I'm a better father now than I was then.
Plus, the former San Diego Charger who became senior pastor of Rock Church. Miles McPherson reveals the third option.
Everything is rooted in an us versus them mentality.
On today's 700 Club.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, the reports are in from the FBI. You've probably seen that. There's a highly confidential, it's like a one-page thing in a safe, and only the senators can look at it. And it's supposed to not available for the public. Of course, the president comes out and says there's nothing in it. So, okay, thank you, Mr. President. But we're looking at one of the most incredible things that is coming down. And so Mitch McConnell says, all right, I'm going to, put in cloture, and then it'll take a couple of days. So it looks like it'll be Saturday before they have a vote. But in any event, that's what's facing us. But ladies and gentlemen, here is the situation. The Supreme Court of the United States has been instrumental in some of the biggest decisions: prayer in the schools, Bible reading in the schools, abortion, Roe versus Wade, and then on top of that, the case having to do with homosexual marriage. It's now a constitutional right. You can go on down the list, but they have been the focal point. Now, what's going to happen if you now have a 3-3 standoff? 3 liberals, 3 conservatives, and no swing vote. That means that they will be stymied. The Supreme Court won't go anywhere, and it will be put back to the circuit courts. And that means in California, for example, the Ninth Circuit, which has been so radical, will be determining policy on many, many, many issues without that other vote. The vote of Kavanaugh or some similar judge is vital, but it will not be possible to get somebody else through for months on end. And, of course, the Democrats are hoping that they will take the Senate in these upcoming elections, and therefore will be able to block any initiative that the president wants to make. But the president is campaigning hard, and it seems like to me there are a number of districts in play where the Senate may swing more toward the Republicans, but we don't know that. So it's a toss-up, but it makes you sick at your stomach to think that the moral future of America is being held in the hands of 2 or 3 senators who are playing cutesy with some illusory claim by a lawyer, I might add, who was representative in one of the cases, I believe, of attacking the women who accused Bill Clinton of sexual harassment. And yet they are now making this woman who's making such a claim into a saint better than Joan of Arc. Well, we'll just see what's going to happen, but the vote's coming up, and we'll talk more about whether the Lisa Murkowski of Alaska, Susan Collins of Maine, and then Jeff Flake, who is not going to run anymore and who said he'd vote for him and now has changed his mind. We don't know what he's going to do. And then there are a couple of Democrats on the fence who I believe may well vote for Kavanaugh. But Mitch McConnell is a master of bringing the Senate along, and he knows what to do, and the vote will be scheduled, I suspect, on Saturday. It looks like.
Well, the big question is those 5 key Senate votes. Those swing senators come from both parties, and they could decide whether or not Kavanaugh makes it to the Supreme Court. CBN's Jenna Browder brings us the story on the confirmation battle.
The countdown to the crucial vote is on as senators review the FBI's report and determine whether or not Judge Brett Kavanaugh will sit on the Supreme Court.
I'm filing cloture on Judge Kavanaugh's nomination.
The announcement coming late Wednesday night from Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell. The FBI report is being closely guarded, each senator given 1 hour to review it in a secure room. Democrats are complaining loudly that the FBI didn't interview Kavanaugh's accuser, Dr. Christine Blasey Ford. But the White House reportedly doesn't believe the FBI probe supports the sexual misconduct claims against Kavanaugh.
Any response to the president's comment?
Meantime, tension mounts on Capitol Hill, where police have stepped up security and are now escorting some lawmakers because many senators, especially Republicans, have been concerned about protesters.
You guys really do invade my comfort zone? It's intense.
On Wednesday, they arrested a Democratic intern accused of posting the personal information, home addresses, and phone numbers of 3 Republican senators. The decision to confirm Judge Kavanaugh comes down to a handful of senators who could vote either way. Republicans Lisa Murkowski, Susan Collins, and Jeff Flake, and Democrats Joe Manchin and Heidi Heitkamp. All condemned the president's comments he made about Dr. Ford's testimony against Kavanaugh at a rally in Mississippi Tuesday night.
How did you get home? I don't remember. How'd you get there? I don't remember. Where is the place? I don't remember.
The president's comments were just plain wrong.
To discuss something this sensitive at a political rally is just it's just not right. It's just not right. I wish he hadn't have done it. And say it's kind of appalling.
Even the president's close ally, Senator Lindsey Graham, said he would tell him to knock it off, though he was quick to defend Kavanaugh.
I don't like what the president said last night. I'm the first person to say, I want to hear from Dr. Ford. I thought she was handled respectfully. I thought Kavanaugh was treated like crap. Yeah, well, boo yourself.
But the president's comments may not have any impact on the swing senators' votes. The upcoming midterms play a big role for Manchin and Heitkamp. They're facing tough re-election battles, and voters in their states support Kavanaugh. The 2 swing Democrats may wait to see which way the 3 moderate Republicans go. The full Senate vote to confirm Judge Kavanaugh could come as soon as this weekend. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Our Capitol Hill correspondent, Abigail Robertson, is with us now. And Abigail, what are you hearing as you walk around the halls of the Capitol?
Well, we've heard that the report was delivered around 2 a.m. last night, and as you said, it will be kept in a very secure room inside the Capitol. Only senators and a very small handful of staff members will be able to review the report. The first group of Republicans went in around 8 a.m. today to take a look at it, followed by a group of Democrats at 9 a.m. The Senate Judiciary Committee members will be the first to see this, but that will sort of be the pattern throughout the day. Republicans will get an hour with the report, and then Democrats until all 100 senators have seen it and haven't had a chance to look through it.
What do you hear, the gossip going around? What do you think the mood is in Capitol Hill right now?
The mood is very, very tense. There's a lot of anxiety on the Capitol right now. A lot of people are just waiting. They've been waiting very anxiously to see this report and to see if it helps Judge Kavanaugh or if it hurts him. And I think a lot of senators, I know the ones we've talked about, Flake, Murkowski, and Collins, they are not making any decisions on how they will vote for him until they review this report and see what the FBI found out.
What about security? You know, those 2 women who accosted Senator Flake at an elevator and claimed like they were the victims of sexual harassment. Turns out they worked for a George Soros left-wing group. They were paid workers. Are the senators worried about being accosted by all these demonstrators?
Yes. Yes, we have seen a lot of increased security on the Capitol. There are a lot of members that are now being escorted by the U.S. Capitol Police. So there's definitely heightened security. They're even clearing reporters out of areas that are normally open for reporters to freely roam and try and speak to these lawmakers, especially those senators Flake and Collins. And Collins, her office, they received about 3,000 coat hangers, and a lot of her staff members have even been harassed unrest. We're seeing protesters invade senators' offices and really take over. It's a pretty nasty environment. This has been going on throughout the whole hearing. But I want to point out that as I've seen all these protests happening, I've also run into a lot of prayer groups on the Capitol and just a lot of people who are there praying that God's will be done in all of this. We're not hearing about them in the media because they're not being arrested by the Capitol Police or making a ruckus. But I think it's important to know that there are definitely some people who are up there praying and just trying to bring some peace to this situation.
What about the Democratic objections that neither Dr. Ford or Judge Kavanaugh are being interviewed by the FBI on this round? Is there any merit in any of that?
Well, before these Democratic senators have even reviewed the report, a lot of them have already come out and called it a sham, saying just that Dr. Ford was not interviewed, nor were any of the witnesses that she suggested they reach out to. So they're saying this report is narrow in scope. They don't really think it will add any more to this investigation. And we're also seeing that they're not blaming the FBI for this. They're blaming the White House and Republicans, saying that it was the White House and Republican senators that called the shots for who the FBI reached out to. So they're not criticizing the FBI, but they're saying just what the FBI was told to do was very narrow and will not really produce a lot more information.
Senator Grassley, Chuck Grassley, has sent a message saying, look, the Constitution gives the Senate the right for advice and counsel, not the Washington Post. And yet certain of the health reports of Dr. Ford have been given to the Washington Post, but they refuse to give them to the Senate. Do you have anything on that?
Yes, well, we know Dr. Ford, she took her polygraph test and she had a lot of other documents that she was giving to the media, but she was not sharing with the Judiciary Committee. And her lawyer said that she would share those documents with the FBI if they reached out to her for an interview. But because they did not, they're not willing to give those up to they're not willing to give those and turn those over to the Judiciary Committee. They were only going to do so if the FBI reached out and requested them.
Well, that's outrageous to start with. Well, what do you think? You got an estimate of whether Republicans can carry it off?
I think we're going to know a lot more later today once we hear from those swing senators on what they think of the report. But we are seeing people like Senator Manchin in Hyde Camp. They're making comments like they might be in favor of voting for Judge Kavanaugh, depending on what is in this report. And yeah, I think we'll know a lot more in a couple of hours.
Well, Abigail, you're doing a great job. Thank you very much.
It's so interesting to me. How did those protesters get into Senate hearings?
Well, there's no security up there. There's one guard at the gate, and once you're through, I mean...
In today's world, that's kind of shocking, isn't it?
Well, it is shocking, but they don't have security. Supreme Court justices don't have security. They just aren't there. But the fact that those two women who accosted Senator Flake and were instrumental in changing, at least getting a delay, were both paid workers from George Soros, who is anti-everything that America stands for. And, you know, that these people were paid workers, and they become like these heroines. And the amazing thing is that there has been no clear cross-examination of Dr. Ford. And her former boyfriend said she was practicing on how to beat a lie detector test. I mean, practicing it. And then she gives you this stuff about, well, I'm scared to fly, and yet when she calls the Baltimore Airport BWI, you know good and well you're talking about a seasoned traveler, and she was scared of being in small places, but all that's, it was just a lie. It was a series of lies. And, but if anybody calls her into question about that, they're somehow racist, homophobic, they're a white privileged monster or whatever. It's just a travesty that if a woman makes an accusation against a man, the woman's accusation must be believed, regardless of who the man is or what the circumstances are. And that's absurd. It goes in the face of all of our concept of jurisprudence. But the senator from Hawaii thinks that's true. Well, he's a white male, and therefore he should not be believed about anything. It's unbelievable. Well, in other news, there's something really unbelievable. It's a new surgical procedure that can help prevent strokes and possibly save lives. And so far, it's been a blessing for one evangelical Christian leader. This is an amazing report. John.
That's right, Pat, and that Christian evangelical leader is none other than Liberty University President Jerry Falwell Jr., who revealed Wednesday that he recently underwent a new and very rare type of surgery to repair a hole in his heart. CBN's David Brody spoke with Falwell and has the story.
It started out as a normal classroom lecture at Liberty.
I'll come out and we'll do this and work on it together.
Two doctors discussing a groundbreaking procedure called Noble Stitch, where holes in a patient's heart can be literally stitched together using a long suture catheter that enters through the groin area. The procedure, recently approved by the FDA, has been performed on less than 150 people. It includes one very notable patient.
President Falwell, you want to join us?
Falwell's condition made him a perfect candidate for the surgery, a migraine sufferer who had 2 small strokes with no clear cause. He mentioned it all to Dr. Ben Carson, who spoke at Liberty's medical school graduation back in May. The good doctor recommended the trend-setting procedure.
If Ben Carson hadn't come to speak here, I never would have found the problem. And he said, I was very fortunate I hadn't had a major stroke.
Falwell and Dr. Jim Thompson, the only man in America who currently does this type of surgery, sat down with CBN News. Falwell told about the support he received last month from a high-profile friend.
I called the president the night before the procedure, 11:30 at night. He answered his phone and told him about it. He called me a week later at 11:30 at night. He said, Jerry, I need you. You got to take care of yourself. How'd it go? And he said, now, Ben Carson told you about this? I said, yeah. He said, well, then I get credit, right? I said, yes. I said, this is my reward for supporting you.
Falwell is lucky to be alive. While we're all born with a hole in our heart, most openings eventually close on their own. For roughly 1 in 4 people, however, it never heals completely. Dr. Thompson calls it a potentially serious condition.
Anybody who has a stroke with an unidentifiable cause, who has a hole in their heart, should have their hole closed.
Dr. Thompson, technically, if nothing was done here, he's at a very high risk for dying of some sort of major stroke.
Right? Or just as bad, having a massive stroke and losing the function of his speech, of sight, of a side of his body.
What makes Noble Stitch unique is the absence of metal in your heart. Some patients get clots from the umbrella-like structures or can be allergic to nickel. Its inventor, Professor Tony Nobles, came up with the sewing idea at Disneyland Paris.
And I came up with the idea looking at the Euro version of the Indiana Jones ride where there were 2 loop-de-loops. Oh, there's the suture. And I saw it and in my mind I went, okay, that's it. Invented it, and then the rest is history.
What's life been like since?
No more migraines. I was back in the gym a week later. I'm back to normal.
Not to make it an Oprah situation, but when you got introduced on stage earlier, there was a hug there. I mean, in other words, this is a man that really came to your aid.
He really did, and he and I are close to the same age. We like the same kind of music. We
70s rock.
70s rock, yes.
Yeah,
so we played that when I was on the operating table. I was wide awake. I could feel the device coming up through my chest, and asked for a little more sedation.
Well, you like 70s rock, but not Stairway to Heaven quite yet, right?
Pink Floyd, Creed's Clearwater Revival.
Falwell can thank Noble Stitch for a revival right here on Earth. David Brody, CBN News, Lynchburg, Virginia.
Great report, David. Pat, it is amazing to think that this technology was conceived or inspired on a Disney ride.
It cannot, you couldn't make that up in fiction. It's just extraordinary. Well, we congratulate Jerry Falwell Jr. for that. But to think that people have strokes, strokes are horrible. They really do bad things to you. I had one. And again, I don't think I've got any holes in my heart, but you have one and you have these various things going on in your heart. It doesn't take but a little teeny blood clot to run to the wrong side of a vein, and it blocks off the flow of blood, and then those nerve cells begin to die. And it's very serious. But imagine that he's on a ride in Disney and sees a double loop. And that's how he sized it off. Well, that's great. Anyhow, that's the way medicine works, a little bit at a time. John, what else you got?
Well, Pat, the death toll in Indonesia's quake tsunami disaster is now more than 1,400 and expected to go even higher as rescuers search through landslides and debris. With some 200,000 people needing urgent help, CBN's Operation Blessing teams in Indonesia are among the first to bring that help. Lucille Tulusan brings us that story.
There is a growing desperation among survivors of the massive 7.5 earthquake and the tsunami that followed. More than 70,000 are displaced and living in tents, their homes flattened and destroyed. The wait for help has led to looting and chaos. Clean water, food, and medical help, among others, are badly needed. Despite difficulties in logistics, Indonesia's Operation Blessing managed to bring aid to survivors in Palu. They brought in boxes of food, medicine, and gave medical help to the sick and injured. This mother is relieved that an Operation Blessing doctor can dress the stitched forehead of her son before it gets infected. This lady's wounded leg is finally being treated after she sprained it while running from falling debris. The team also reached Sigi Biromaru district, where the quake leveled a church, killing more than 30 youngsters having Bible study. There are still many worse-hit areas isolated due to damaged roads and landslides. Operation Blessing teams are pushing to reach more survivors in these areas in the coming weeks and bring them much-needed help, and to let them know that there are people who care about them. Lucille Talusan, CBN News.
Thanks, Lucille. Pat, the devastation there is just incomprehensible.
You know, that great earthquake and tsunami that took place, I think, on Christmas Day that was so tragic. We had a ship with supplies to Banda Aceh almost within days of that. And we were the first on the scene to help those people, and we stayed there helping. And Operation Blessing has been out there helping people in Indonesia. This is the Ring of Fire, and it just looks like there's going to be tragedy coming. And when there is tragedy, we want to be there, because the tragedy is going to not only be in Indonesia, but it's also going to be in the U.S. of A. It'll be in Oregon, it'll be California. These tectonic plates, they're there, the earth shifts, and that's just the way it's been made. And the tragedy is terrible, and the loss of life in Indonesia. But Operation Blessing, again, the address is very simple. It's Operation Blessing, Disaster Relief, CBN Center, Virginia Beach, Virginia, 23463. And to say the least, we need help that we might help others. Terry.
Well, coming up, the case of the missing manuscript sounds like a Nancy Drew book, doesn't it? How did an ancient document wind up halfway around the world in Washington, D.C.?
Well, this is the mystery.
So it continues.
Yeah, it continues.
See how the Museum of the Bible is trying to crack an international whodunit. That's next.
Well, our next story might sound like something ripped from the pages of an international mystery thriller. An ancient biblical manuscript was recently discovered. Where? At the Museum of the Bible in Washington. That manuscript has been missing for years. It used to be in Greece. How did it get to Washington? Ben Kennedy brings us this.
The mystery began when the University of Athens discovered their 10th-century-old manuscript had been stolen. Then it turns up across the Atlantic right here in D.C.
The manuscript is right here in the front.
And the big question remains, how did this 1,000-year-old document become a display at the Museum of the Bible? Problem solved. We know where it's at. How did it leave the University of Athens?
Well, this is the mystery.
So it continues.
Yeah, it continues.
The manuscript dates back to the 1100s when a monk copied the four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Odds are the book was used at a Greek Orthodox church or monastery. Fast forward some 800 years when it was donated to the University of Athens and then went missing sometime in 1991.
They had put this manuscript on display beginning in 1987 at a sort of an anniversary of the founding of the university, and they loaned it to the University Museum, from the university library, along with 3 other manuscripts. 4 years later, they got a note from the museum registrars that, well, we have 3 of your manuscripts and we're just letting you know. They didn't say anything about the 4th manuscript not being there.
From that point, the relic was basically MIA.
The word is stolen, right? It was taken without permission. Somebody stole it. It's pretty easy to slip something like this into a briefcase or a bag. There's no, detector tracking system on it, so it's unfortunately easy to remove.
Documents reveal it first resurfaced at an auction in 1998. Then it passed through a handful of private collectors before being donated to the Museum of the Bible in 2014. No one knew the truth because of tampering and a missing page.
That page may have had some identifying marks, so it looks like someone intentionally tried to hide the identity of the manuscript.
Meanwhile, the University of Athens did some digging and discovered its missing property could be in America.
One of our scholars associated with us, Dr. Tommy Wasserman, had posted information about the manuscript on a New Testament database, and that's where the university found the information and thought, well, this looks kind of similar to ours, and let's talk about this.
That talk led to a breakthrough. And now the newly found document has been returned home.
These are the inheritance of all of humanity, right? The history of the Bible and how it's been preserved.
And for being more than 1,000 years old, it's in pretty good shape.
Yes, it's parchment, which as long as it's properly cared for, will be preserved for a very long time.
Now the manuscript was packed up and shipped back to Greece on October 1st. And as you can imagine, the university was tracking it closely as it made its way home. Before it returned to the rightful owner, the rare manuscript was on display at the Museum of the Bible, where thousands got to learn the story and see this piece of biblical history firsthand. As for who took it, well, that part remains a mystery, one that scholars hope to solve soon. Ben Kennedy, CBN News, Washington.
Isn't it amazing? Manuscripts stolen, artwork stolen. Some of the art from the museum in Boston has never been recovered. And, it's just amazing how valuable these things are, but they don't seem to show up. They go into some place, like the Museum of the Bible, but it's an interesting mystery, isn't it?
You can't even track what happened along the way now, even though it's been recovered.
They don't know.
It's crazy.
But anyhow, it's back with its original owners, and I am so grateful for the Green family for doing what they've done with that Museum of the Bible. It's just a fantastic place. Spent hundreds of millions of dollars putting it together, and it's a great testimony, and it'll be an enduring monument for centuries because of the work they've done. So God bless them. Okay.
Well, up next, it's been 2 years since the tragic death of singer Rory Feek's wife. He's no longer writing songs. Instead, he's raising schoolhouses.
I can also be part of, my blessing. I want to be other people's blessings.
Yeah, a shared life, right?
Yeah, life is way better shared.
Scott Ross sits down with the award-winning artist when we come back.
Two years ago, singer Rory Feek died in a public battle with cancer. Her husband, country music's Rory Feek, was left to raise their children alone. And as he told Scott Ross, he's now doing what he can to keep the memory of his beloved wife alive.
Country singer-songwriter Rory Feek loves life on the farm. In this idyllic setting, he's raising his 4-year-old daughter, writing, performing again, and preparing a one-room schoolhouse for his little girl and others. In his latest book, Once Upon a Farm, Rory reflects on life without his beloved wife and singing partner, Joey, who died of cervical cancer in 2016. Once Upon a Farm, lessons in growing in love, life, and hope on a new frontier. The new frontier is where you're going now, where you are now?
Yeah, the new frontier for me is sort of life going on without Joey.
Yeah. You're a songwriter, but you haven't been writing songs.
True.
Why?
Well, I just haven't really had any desire to write songs in a number of years. I've been writing books, and I've been writing a blog, and that's actually filled me, creatively. I feel like even writing these stories in a blog or chapters in a book, it feels like songwriting. So,
you afraid of it?
No, I've just been doing a bunch of other things.
Right.
So I haven't had time, and I just haven't had any real interest in writing songs these days. I might down the road.
We talked in the garage that the Feeks had turned into a recording studio and concert hall years ago. When Joey got sick, Roy stopped singing and performing for a couple of years. In the fall of 2017, he decided it was time to get back on the stage. You've come back to singing alone and with your daughter, Heidi.
Yes.
Is that a strange experience for you now?
It is. It's a little strange, but it's also familiar at the same time. I didn't have to go far to start singing again. We just walk across the driveway, and it's right here.
Yeah.
This was the last place that we sang together in the fall of 2015. And so the fall of 2017, I decided to get back on stage again. It was, surreal in one way because I'm just used to being on the stage with Joey. But in another way, it was very familiar. It was almost like we stepped off the stage yesterday, and now I'm stepping back in. Your fingers knew what to play, even after 2 years, and your mind knew the lyrics of the songs, and it just felt really comfortable. And so I've just continued doing it. So we do one weekend a month here. Next weekend, there'll be 300 people here on Friday and Saturday nights, and we'll be on stage telling stories and singing songs.
Before meeting Joey, Rory was a divorced single dad, raising Heidi and her sister Hopi. Parenting alone for the second time, he says he hopes to do a better job.
I feel like I didn't train them that well. I had a lot of my own life that I was living out in front of them, making a lot of mistakes in front of them, and they watched them. And so I was 33 really before I started turning my life over to Christ and really trying to be a different man.
After 12 years of marriage, Rory and Joey had their only child, Indiana. I wanted to ask you about her name. Where did the name Indiana come from?
Indiana is from my wife. She was born and raised in Alexandria, Indiana, home of Bill Gaither. When we had the baby, we wanted to name her Indiana, and we call her Indy most of the time.
And she is a Down syndrome child.
Yes, she is. She doesn't know she is, but she is. She just has really pretty eyes.
Now you're doing this without your wife, a dad all on your own. That's pretty challenging stuff.
It is challenging, but I was a dad on my own before. One of the things that was particularly tough is when we found out that all the chemo and the surgeries and the radiation wasn't working. And it looked like things were not going to go well. And we had come back home and we decided to discontinue treatment. We were in the back, behind the house on the back deck, and Joey was really upset. But she wasn't upset because it looked like she wasn't going to be here when the baby's growing up and be here with me. She was upset because I was going to be a single father again. And that was tough. But I told her, I said, I'm perfect. I already know how to do it. I was a single dad for 12 years. I'd like to think I'm a better father now than I was then. I'm trying to be. It is a challenge, but it just feels like life. You know what I mean? It's lonelier because I wish that we could share in every beautiful, amazing moment with the baby. But it's okay.
As he travels this new frontier in his life, Roy rests in the fact that he will never really be alone.
I believe in God is just as strong or stronger through what's happened, and also the belief that I don't know what tomorrow holds, but I still believe He's still giving us a great story.
When Joey died, fans sent Roy their condolences through cards, letters, and money. He decided to use it to build a one-room schoolhouse on his farm for Indy and other children.
And so we took that $100,000. We got a bunch of people in the community together. We had an old-fashioned barn raising, only it wasn't a barn, it was a schoolhouse. So that's pretty amazing. Now the plan is Indy's going to go to school. It's going to be a preschool the first year, so there'll be a dozen little ones in there.
Special needs kids? No, or just any?
Yeah, just any kids. Some might have special needs, some might not. But it's not a special needs school. And then hopefully next year, when Indy's school age, it'll be multi-age. So it'll be much more like a one-room schoolhouse from 100 years ago.
Roy says the project isn't only about his family, it's about bringing the community together.
I can also be part of, my blessing. I want to be other people's blessings.
Yeah, a shared life, right?
Yeah, life is way better shared. It is.
It's a remarkable story, isn't it? If you'd like to read more of Rory Feek's story, pick up a copy of his latest book. It's called Once Upon a Farm. It's available wherever books are sold.
Very inspiring.
Amazing. So, lovely guy.
Poignant story.
Yeah, okay.
Well, still ahead, a pastor and former NFL player tackles the racial divide in our country.
Culture always tries to force us to choose sides. Are you for me or against me? Everything is rooted in an us versus them mentality.
Miles McPherson offers the third option. It's coming up later on today's 700 Club.
Welcome back to the 700 Club. A Utah man suspected of mailing poisonous letters to the White House and the Pentagon is in FBI custody. Officials identified the man as William Clyde Allen III. Pentagon officials said that 2 envelopes suspected of containing ricin were discovered and isolated earlier this week at a Pentagon mail screening facility. The letters appear to only contain castor bean seeds, which have to be processed in order to become ricin. Charges could be filed against Allen if it's determined the letters were intended as a threat. Well, Netflix has signed a deal to develop new TV series and movies based on the famous series The Chronicles of Narnia by Christian author C.S. Lewis. Netflix hopes the stories can work both on TV and in theaters, similar to what Marvel has done with its superhero franchise in film and TV shows. The deal marks the first time one company holds the rights to the entire 7 books of the Narnia universe. The Narnia books have sold more than 100 million copies in 47 languages. Well, you can always get the latest from CBN News by visiting our website at cbnnews.com. Pat and Terry will be back with more of today's 700 Club right after this.
We live in a racially charged culture, and sometimes that carries a zero-sum mentality. In other words, you must lose in order for me to win. But what if there was a third option? Take a look.
Miles McPherson spent 4 years in the NFL with the San Diego Chargers and was known as the Jesus Guy. Today, he's the senior pastor of Rock Church in San Diego. One of the most pressing issues Miles has dealt with is that of racism. He grew up in a predominantly black neighborhood in Long Island, New York, and went to school in an all-white neighborhood. Miles, who is mixed, couldn't fit in anywhere.
Culture always tries to force us to choose sides. Are you for me or against me? Everything is rooted in an us versus them mentality.
In his book, The Third Option, Miles encourages us to unify our communities and to better love our neighbors equally, starting with ourselves.
Well, please welcome back to the 700 Club, Miles McPherson. It's always just a pleasure to have you here.
It's so good to be here.
And what a good book you've written, The Third Option. Before we talk about what the third option is, I want to ask you to just kind of recall being caught in the nation's racial divide, really from the time you were a child.
I grew up in a black neighborhood, went to school in a white neighborhood.
Wow.
And I'm mixed. So when I was in the white neighborhood, I got called names. When I was in the black neighborhood, I got called names. And so I was experiencing on both sides. However, when I played football, we all got along. We had a common goal and a common enemy, which was the other team. And now as a pastor of a multiracial church, and we have, I can't even tell you how many nationalities we have, we all worship God every day. And so I see it, and I see how it works.
For the past 4 years, you played in the NFL, and so you are very aware of what's going on in the NFL today. What do you think about all of this? How do you react to it?
Well, I played 30-something years ago, not the past 4 years. I wish it was the past 4 years.
Hey, yeah, exactly.
You know, football is probably, and sports is probably the greatest uniter in our country, and so I think that's what I focus on. All the guys who are getting together. If you watch games, black guys and white guys who, especially in football, that's mostly black and white, a few Hispanics, are family, and they're committed to each other, and they're committed to winning and rooting for each other, and that's what we need in our culture.
Why doesn't that spill into our culture? You know, why don't we now, instead, what's happening in our culture, which is so divisive on many issues, not just racial, is spilling into the whole athletic arena.
Right. You know, in every race conversation, it's about us versus them.
Yes.
Those are the two options. The third option is that we honor what we have in common. All of us have more similarities than differences, and that's what this book is for. It's designed to give people tools on how to understand how similar we are, and how we can build bridges and break down the walls between us.
Is discovering our similarity the thing that ultimately helps us appreciate our differences? I mean, why do differences divide? It's like you don't have to worship the same way I do.
Exactly.
It's your way, it's my way. Why can we not appreciate that in each other?
You know, we're sinners, right? We're prideful, and we group with people who are like us, and as soon as we group with people who are like us, we identify people who are not like us, and there's a separation. But if we realize that we're 99.5% genetically the same, more than anything, we're all made in the image of the same God, and the image of God in you is not inferior or superior to mine. So how can we learn how to build bridges, break down the walls that are telling us we're different? You know, one of probably the biggest things I learned writing this book is that people cannot separate the concept of being racially offensive and not being a racist. There are some people who are racist, but most of us are just biased.
Yes.
And we say things that are uncomfortable with other people or offensive, but we don't necessarily mean it to hurt them. And if people can separate those two things and learn and take a posture, I want to learn. How can I be more honoring to you? How can I be more loving to you? But you have to separate, you have to be able to accept that you can be racially offensive and not be a racist. So in this book, I lay out blind spots people have. Things that they say that they may not realize are offensive, things that they believe that may not be accurate. You know, the greatest commandment is to love God with your heart, mind, and soul.
Yes.
And just the second commandment is to love your neighbor as yourself. But if I rename you something less than neighbor, I don't have to love you. And so if we think of the names we call people, the names we let the media put on people that we accept, we dehumanize people. And so I would challenge people to put the label neighbor on everybody they see and say, I got to love you like my neighbor, and start there.
That's an easy place to start from, because, you know, it's not just names that we call, it's attitudes that we harbor.
Exactly.
How is your church accepting this third option and making a difference? You mentioned that your church is racially mixed.
Yeah, we call ourselves a Skittles Church.
Got all colors.
We don't even try to measure how many people are in there. And we serve together. We have small groups together. We worship together. And they're accepting it like a champ. I mean, we every Sunday I say, turn to someone near you that doesn't look like you.
Yeah.
That's not a hard thing. They just have to turn right or left because it's right there. And give that person a hug, tell them you love them. So we practice it every day, because when those people who some have been walking with the Lord for a long time and some haven't at all. We have white supremacists that have come to our church. When they leave the building, they have practice. They were just in church with someone who was different. Yeah. And so when they go to work or they go to school, or they're managing someone different, they say, you know what, I just loved somebody and told someone that looked like you at church that I love you. So we're practicing diversity and inclusion. Let me think this through, because it can work.
Your wife also experienced ridicule growing up. In what way?
My wife's mother was white, and she grew up in a black housing project. So she was the only white person, her mom, in the whole housing project. Wow. And she was in fights all the time. Her mom was in fights all the time. My wife was getting escorted to and from school in elementary school by the police. Luckily, she didn't grow up hating brown people because she married me. But again, her story's in the book, and her story, as well as stories from people from all kinds of nationalities, give principles in the book that can apply to every person all around the world. And so all of us have things to learn about how to honor each other better, and how to honor and acknowledge the humanity that we all have. That's the biggest thing that we need to do.
You know, your book just reminded me of that song that we've sung for so many years, Let There Be Peace on Earth, and let it begin with me. I mean, somebody's got to take the first step, right?
Yes. And
so don't wait for your neighbor to do it. Be the neighbor that takes the first step.
And it's not going to be the government. It's going to be us. So I need to be able to look at you and say, you're my neighbor and I love you.
Yeah. You're my neighbor and I love you.
And you're Miss America, girl. This is Miss America.
You're hilarious. The book is amazing. It's called The Third Option. It opens discussion that we all need to have, thought processes that we all need to go through. It's available wherever books are sold. Thank you for what you've written and for what you're doing.
It's my pleasure.
It's a light in the darkness. Well, still ahead. We've got your questions and some honest answers. One viewer writes, I know the Bible says it's better to marry than burn with lust, but what if we can't find anyone to marry? Are some of us meant to be alone? Pat's going to weigh in on your pressing issues, so don't go away. Time for your questions and some honest answers. Pat, this first one comes from a viewer who says, Dear Pat, I know the Bible says it's better to marry than to burn, and in your answer to a question on Tuesday, you mentioned that scripture. However, what about those of us who have just not been fortunate enough to find someone to marry? I'm in my 60s and have never found a godly man to marry. Are some of us just not meant to marry? I attend church regularly, but there are no single men my age there.
Well, I don't know what to say. You know, the Apostle Paul said that being single wasn't the worst thing in the world, because if you're married, you've got to be concerned about the opinions and the desires of your spouse. But if you're single, you can serve the Lord. So I think there are many people, certainly ladies who work in the orders of the Catholic Church, who are given to the Lord. I don't know what to say, except that, you know, it's tough to be lonely, and God wants to put us together in families. And there may be, you know, there are church families and there are social groups that you can get involved in that will be the companionship you're looking for. But it's difficult. I don't want to minimize the fact, all right?
This is Carolyn, who says, Hi, Mr. Robertson. I'm wondering if something can be done legally about all of these false accusers of people, such as what we're seeing with Mr. Kavanaugh. I personally think that as a woman, if someone has experienced some atrocity, that they do need justice. However, anyone who wants to falsely accuse someone currently suffers no ramifications for outright making things up. Don't you think there should be some sort of law in place that if someone falsely accuses someone of some drastic thing, totally trashing their life, like Mr. Kavanaugh and his entire career, family, etc., that they should serve some sort of jail time, right?
Well, I don't know about jail time. We don't have a penalty for slander and putting people in jail, but there are legal remedies. You can sue for slander. Of course, a public figure, it's almost impossible under the Solomon Rule to gain a victory in a civil suit over slander, because you're like it's open season on public figures, and it's very, very hard to establish. But for a normal person in a normal business, if somebody comes along and slanders them, and you can bring a lawsuit against them, and it's costly, but that's the way. But you're not going to put them in jail, all right?
Okay, this is Charles, who says, I was watching the 700 Club Tuesday morning, and it was talking about porn. Pat said it's better to get married than to burn in lust. The question was, if I'm watching porn, am I going to lose my salvation? He didn't really answer that question. It was just get over your addiction. Sounds easy enough, but I've had other addictions, and it's not as easy as Pat says it is. Also, I am 51 and single. I am also gay. I know there's a big issue with that, too. I watch porn instead of going and finding sex. My main question is, am I going to lose my salvation? It seems the Bible says yes. What is true?
I'm always inclined to agree with the Bible. And I think that, you know, lustful thoughts, where do they come from? They come from inside the person. Jesus said, they're the things that pollute you is what comes out of your heart. And the thoughts you're talking about, you have lust toward the same sex. You want to have sex with somebody, but you have to feed that from something, and you have to focus on it. And what you need to do is to focus your mind on the Lord. And, you know, we have had many cases of people who thought they were, quote, gay, who have become bisexual and have gotten married and had a happy life. So the question is, where do you put your thoughts? And if you continue to think about these things, you will continue to have lust. I think it was Luther that said that it's not anything wrong with having the birds fly over your head. It's when you let them make a nest in your hair. And I think that's what the answer is you're asking me is, if you have these things and you want to do it, Jesus said, if you look to a woman as if you want to have sex with her, it's the equivalent of adultery. And, you know, this is dangerous stuff. And I don't want to minimize what the Lord had to say about, you know, the conduct, but it means that, you know, you have to take a step. You're a free moral agent. You need to do something about it. We leave you with today's power minute from 1 John. God is love, and he who abides in love abides in God, and God in him. Thanks for being with us. See you Monday. Bye-bye.